Talk me through the gripping of a week. How do you go about planning an optimal week to make sure that you get done what you need to get done?
Yeah, so that starts for me. It starts with the calendar, and I'm a huge fan of what David Allen wrote in Getting Things Done. There's one thing that he and I disagree on very much, and that's the use of the calendar. I spoke to him a couple of times about this. He lives quite close by here in Amsterdam, so we chatted about this, and we just disagree. Like, he believes it should start with a to-do list where you pick off things, you make sure that you have this ordered in terms of maybe priority and project, and you work from the top to bottom. I believe that there is so much happening on a set time in the day that this list will always be endless, and there is no way to really figure out when stuff should happen and actually what cannot happen. So I found that I really need to start with the calendar, and the calendar is fantastic. It's a fantastic piece of software because it's finite, and it's actually the only tool that's finite, which is such a relief and also a constraint that frustrates me every single day, of course, because our time is limitless on this planet, and we need to, like, I want to get most out of it. Why it's such a powerful tool is that people say to me, like, I try to put everything that I had previously in my to-do list that I need to get done this week. I try to put it in my calendar. It won't fit. So Rick, what can I do to make it fit? And then, of course, I say, this is exactly the goal of doing this exercise, that you notice that you have made way too many promises and you towards other people to get stuff done in this week, while you should be saying no a lot more. And then trying to map out your week, it will show you clearly what can and what cannot happen. And that in itself is so powerful, because now you really need to make the decisions on what you're spending your valuable time on and figure out a way to make better decisions there. Instead of just saying, I will fit in these 20 things. Of course, you start with the easy ones. The difficult and important ones that are not urgent always fall off the wagon. And do that for a couple of years, and you're running behind. Turn it around and start every day with at least a single thing that's important but not urgent, like the Eisenhower matrix, has this compounding effect that you will see have results in the next couple of years. So that's really the biggest chunk of it. Having this calendar be your ultimate rock and guide into how you spend your time. I live by it. If it's there, I do it. There's no discussion. There is no way to evade it. If it's there, I do it. And then the other stuff is living in the task in the task manager. So that's really the second step to the system, because of course not everything will fit into the calendar. I do it on a week by week basis, so everything else is in the to-do manager, to-do list. So that's basically it.
Something about so I love the getting things done methodology, but something that I really agree with there is that with David Allen's mind dump, I can sit there and I can make 116 different things I need to get done in any given week. But where I always tripped up, almost without fail, is that I guess two things. Number one, it's quite hard to discern when you're not adding time to things in a calendar. It's quite hard to discern, is point number 83 actually more important than point number 84? And then, of course, the second thing is that you're never going to get around to point 84 anyway, because you haven't scheduled all of this stuff. So I do think, of course, I use a calendar, but I'd always just used a calendar for things like this, when it was a fixed time meeting to kind of have a start point and an end point and send out a Google Meet link. And that was my use of a calendar until recently. Don't get me wrong, there are days when I slip up. There are days when I see that Google Calendar line dragging down and I'm like, my God, I haven't finished this thing and it's about to reach 2 items down. But generally speaking, I think that I have learned in the last 3 or 4 weeks that if you don't allocate time to something, it doesn't get done. And that if you're not taking into account the finite time which we have, you're never actually really prioritizing. You're just kind of ordering. You're just kind of tidying up a list rather than setting fixed time. So they're the two real takeaways I took from the grip section.